So we good? You want to get started? Camera person? Yes? What's your name?
Corey.
Corey. Corey. Do I know you already?
I don't think so.
Okay. Hi. I'm Anthony.
Nice to meet you.
I work remote, so I work with all these people, and I have no idea who they are. So they're like, hey, I know you. That's cool. All right. So we'll get started. My name is Anthony Russell. My Twitter handle is .NETRussell, and this is Building Google for Criminal Enterprises. So if that wasn't what you wanted to see, I'm sorry, you're stuck in here now. This is my Who Am I? You probably, I don't know if you can see it in the back. I do cybers and codes, and if you want to hit me up on Twitter, you can, .NETRussell, or you can follow my blog, .NETRussell.com. I really don't like going too much into my bio because I don't have one. Here are some things we're going to cover. I'm going to talk about quickly why this project was started, what public data is and where you can find it, scraping data, linking public data to the scraped data, who cares about this, how I would fix it personally, and I have a tool that I made that is a proof of concept that's going to show why this stuff is bad. So here's the disclaimer. We're going to be looking at some sensitive data today. By sensitive data, I mean I'm going to be showing live data of real people that exist. They're innocent people. Please don't use this data to harass them. Please be respectful. Be an adult. I don't condone the illegal use of this material for anything other than research. On that note, the government publishes this data, okay? Either where I get this, either the government has published it or the person themselves have put this on the internet. So I think it's fair game. I want to make somebody upset. I hope somebody gets mad about this. I hope one day one of these people are like, hey, why am I in this guy's presentation and I have no idea who they are? I hope that they get mad about it and they complain to the government and we fix these problems. I had some conversations about redacting this. We had some long, deep talks about whether or not we should even make a tool like this, but I think it's important, and I think the only way it's going to get fixed is if we abuse it, so let's do that. By the way, I spoke to an attorney, don't sue me. So, why this project? It started out as I like to do public speaking. Obviously, I like to come here. I want to speak. But it's a challenge. You know, if you want to put your information out there saying, hey, I like to speak, I like to do conferences, here's my information, you know, I don't want it to get rated by companies and governments and all different types of stuff. I don't think that just because it's out there that it should be fair game. So it's a balancing act, you know. So like I said earlier, I'm a veteran. I'm an OIF vet. I like to take challenges head on. So that's what I did with this. So I started out by saying, okay, well, I want to do a presentation on how people that speak publicly can become private and still have a public profile. So I started by opting out of all the things. I tried doing that. I tried scrubbing my social media by throwing mud in the water. Like I would change my birthday to 1901, January 1st, because once it's on Facebook, it's never going away. So you might as well muddy it up a little bit. It hurts the algorithms. I tried scrubbing all my emails against have I been pwned and deleting the ones that have actually been compromised. I added myself to the do not call list, which shockingly doesn't work. I uninstalled, obviously, apps on my phone that required an insane amount of permissions, and I used those cleanup services online, all of which I found were garbage. So opting out, yeah, none of that worked. The big websites, like the big data websites that collect your information online, you can opt out of them, but, you know, I hit a wall eventually. I hit this wall, and there was no more opting out, but yet my data was still out there, and I couldn't figure out why. And then I said, you know, maybe I need a different approach. Maybe I need to figure out what they're doing to get my information, and then I needed to take it, and instead of selling it for profit, I need to abuse it and write a tool that abuses it, and then maybe we can fix this problem, because opting out doesn't work. So I started looking into things to seed my malicious tool, right? So I said, why not start with public data? I looked at data that the government made public, like your local government, your state government, the federal government. Then I looked at things that people make public on their own, like Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook. And then I looked at APIs, like the People API. Is anybody familiar with People? Yeah, it's great source. Yeah, PIPL. That's great source of information. Here are some of the government data sources I found. The voter registration database, public data records such as home sales, like land records and stuff. Traffic violations, if you get a ticket, sorry, it's out there. If you register your pet, I like this one. I don't know why this is public, but if you register your pet, that information's out there, your name and address. I put car registration on here with a question mark because I bought a car this year, and all of a sudden I started getting a ton of information, or a ton of ads and stuff, so somewhere that is public, and I haven't been able to find it yet, but if I can find it, I'm definitely going to abuse that, because that's awesome. What's that? It was a used car. So, I went with the Ohio voter registration database. It was the biggest one, it was the easiest to find, and it wasn't illegal to download. So I downloaded, it was something like 6.5 million voter records, it was over like 2 files. They make it really easy for you. They break it down by county, they break it down by, I think, city, or you can just download the whole state. So I went with that. And they update it all the time. They update it weekly. So if somebody registers, they get added in immediately for you. So now that we have our public data, which included name, date of birth, home address, your party affiliation if you register that, things like that. Now that we have that seeding our database, now it's time to start grabbing the more in-depth information like Facebook or Twitter or LinkedIn or the PIPL API or Instagram. So I ended up going with Facebook and PIPL. I wanted to do a LinkedIn one, but I didn't have time to build that, so I didn't. I wanted to try and find a way to do Twitter, but it's still too anonymous. People don't put enough personal information on there for me to strongly correlate a person to their Twitter profile, so I didn't do that one. And I didn't really care about Instagram. It's fun after you get all the information on the person. It's fun to go to Instagram and get some more, because you can see like where they go and the pictures of the food they take and stuff like that. So you can figure out kind of like their patterns of where they like to live and do things. But as far as doing that, using it as initial seeding information, it's a little tough. So I started scraping Facebook. If you don't know, if you haven't tried, Facebook really doesn't like you scraping their information. They go out of their way to try and stop you. They do this thing where they will load the page up, and then they have these containers that will go out and do AJAX calls. AJAX calls are just asynchronous calls that run in the background. So, like, you'll load Facebook, and the container for Facebook will load, and then it'll say, okay, go out and get the actual detailed information. So when you use tools like curl or links or whatever, it doesn't load that information. So it makes it really tough for scraping. Funny thing is though, they leave like automation IDs and things like that in the code, so you can easily just reach in with regexes and grab the values once the page, if you can get the full all the information back. It's easy to grab it out, and I'm going to show you how. I use something I call multipath scraping. It's just something arbitrary I made up. These 2 URLs, these are what you want to note. This top one right here, you can call it authenticated with Facebook or like not logged in at all, unauthenticated, and you can get all the profiles back. So I would call this top one, and I would say where the person's name equals Anthony space Russell, Ohio, and I'll get all the Anthony Russells in Ohio back that register their Facebook back like that. And you can do that not logged in. The second one. This is the example right here of it. So John Smith, Ohio. This would be the results that you would get. So you get all the John Smiths from Ohio back, different cities. So how do we get that information? So like I was saying, I tried using things like curl, wget, and links. Couldn't get them to execute the embedded AJAX. So then I started using the different types of browsers. We won't cover those because there's not enough engineers in here. They're not going to care. So how I get the information out is I use this thing called a regex. Does everybody know what a regex is? Some people? Okay, yeah. So regexes they're pattern matching. You can give it a pattern to look for in some text. It doesn't have to be code. It can be text. In fact, people try and discourage you from using regexes to parse HTML, but that's a whole other story. I use it. It works really well. This is an example of what we might do. I have these 3 lines of text, and I want that middle one. So I would tell my regex to find this ID right here, and then grab me the text in the middle. And that's kind of how I'm doing. That's kind of how I'm doing the searching on the Facebook pages. I use, for the people that care, this is what I use. It's a very simple regex. I'm not a regex pro. I use this one pattern over and over and over again, and it works really well. It's a positive look behind, and then I match lazily to an unlimited amount of characters, and then I use a positive look ahead. We're going to kind of skip through this because, like I said, people probably aren't going to care. So these are the, this is actually an example of how we're getting the URLs out. So I have, this is the first half of the regex, and it says come up to this point. This says match everything in between this point and this point. And that's how we get this text, and the blue text right there. So when you run that over the code, it will give you all of the profile links. So if I say search John Smith, Ohio, and then I run that regex on the results, the HTML results, I'll get all the profile links of the John Smiths in Ohio. And then I can iterate over each of those profiles, and I can say, okay, now give me the details from each of those pages. And to do the details, I use something called multipass. So each of these blue blocks is a section of information that we're grabbing. Like this first one is for a local high school. The second one is for the classroom of tomorrow. And the third one says Alliance, Ohio. And it would be up to my code to figure out, you know, to put these in a context what they are. But just the fact that we get the data, that's the hard part. We can get the data and we can correlate it to a person. That's the hard part. So that's me grabbing it out of there. So gluing it all together. So we know we have the records from the voter database. The voter database gave us a full name, a date of birth, and a home address, an exact location, right? And then we searched Facebook for, you know, John Smith, Ohio. And we know that John Smith in Ohio is from Lorraine. So then we start iterating over each of those profiles and pulling out the details, and then we start looking at the details and seeing if it matches up to our voter database. So I can, for every detail, I'll say, does this detail contain Alliance, Ohio, Lorraine, Ohio, or, you know, does it contain the city of the person that I'm looking at? If it does, that's a strong correlation for that person, because usually there's only going to be one John Schmuckatelli from, Cincinnati, Ohio, or whatever. You know, there's only going to be 1 or 2 people from that city with that name that list that in their Facebook page. So that's a really strong connection. Here's an example that I did. I queried for all of the 18-year-olds in Lakewood, Ohio, and then I picked a random person, okay? So we have Samantha Atkins here. She was born in 1998, September 30th, and she lives in Lakewood. So we're going to try and find her. So I ran that query, the Facebook search query for Samantha Atkins, Ohio, and you see we get all these results back, right? Well, then we pull down each profile, and we start building confidence scores on the profile, all right? Now what I do is these are totally arbitrary, so if there's any data scientists in here that want to give me a better scoring mechanism, please do, but this seems to work pretty well. For the first name, I get 0.15 points. For the last name, I get 0.15 points. So if both the first name and the last name exist in the profile, they can get a total of a 0.3, okay? And then I do the same thing for city and state. If both city and state are found, they get a 0.7. If just the state is found, they get a 0.1, and if just the city is found, they get a 0.4. So we add this all up, and we get a confidence score. So I ran over all of those profiles that returned for Samantha Atkins, and you see that one of the profiles stands out from all the others. We have a confidence score of 1.02, and the closest one that's next is 0.43, so it's not even close. Now, if we open up that profile, sure enough, it's Samantha Atkins. She's from Lakewood, Ohio, and we can start grabbing more personal information from her. We know things like her full legal name. We know her home address, her date of birth. She has photos, interests, her relationship status, her sexual orientation now. and then other personal information like her likes and apps she has installed. Great for, targeted phishing. But we can do more than that. So what if we did this in reverse? I started with the voter database, and then I worked up to a Facebook page, and I started thinking, if we can do this, I wonder if we can go the other way. So if we can use the built-in Facebook searching mechanisms because they have some great stuff. Like I could say, I want to go find a friend that works at the same company as me, or I want to go find a friend that went to this college or lives in this city. So we can find groups of people, and we can filter them, and then we can resolve that back to their home address. So what if we did this for things like USPS or the Cleveland Police Department or Cleveland Fire Department or the Perry Nuclear Power Plant in Ohio or the Ohio National Guard? Doing stuff like this, it lets us build target profiles on people that work at critical infrastructure. So I built this tool. I wanted this to be more than just a theory. I wanted to actually put it into practice and prove that this was possible. So I built this tool called Alohomora, and let me connect to the internet. I built this tool called Alohomora that does this for you. We can go both ways. We can do the voter database up to Facebook. We can do Facebook back to the voter database. I can also do some SMS spoofing and stuff in here. I built some fun modules. I gotta log in too. Oh man, this is a huge fail. Sorry. Did I mess that up? Wow, fail whale. Should I use a Derbycon one? Who knows the Derbycon one? No one knows the password? What's that? Yeah, right? I was using the Hyatt one just earlier and it was working fine. I don't know why it's not now.
The Derbycon password was just Derbycon.
It's just Derbycon lowercase? Don't hack me, bro, okay? Hopefully that gives us some internets. Okay, yeah, cool. Thank you, whoever that was. I wish I had something to give you. Okay, cool. So here's the tool. So when you first open it up, you get some target dashboard. These are targets that I've already searched for, and we can open it up and see the details. We'll do that here in a second. But over here on the left are the different modules that I've made so far. And I made this tool so it's easy to add modules. So if anybody's interested in building, it's all on GitHub. Please feel free to add in. The first thing we're going to look at is the voter database to Facebook. So I'm just going to do the same thing I did before. I'm going to say, give me people that were born after January 1st, 1998, that live on this street in Lakewood, Ohio. I don't have to put Ohio in because my database is rigged for, it's rigged for Ohio already. But if you wanted to, you could put whatever database you want in there. So if you're, because all these voter databases, they're standardized across the states. So if you have another one you want to use, hook it up. I have the settings in here and you can change all the connection string and all that stuff. It's real easy. So we get all these people back. These are people that are over 18 that live in that area. And I think this one returns some good results. So this is going to go get all the profiles. And then we're going to scan all the profiles. And then it takes a second because it's actually chugging through them. It's actually the Regex that takes so long. And we're cutting through all of them at the same time. But what it's going to do, it's going to pull them all down. And it builds a confidence score. And you can see we got Sean Gallagher back. And pretty sure we have found him because it's a 1.02 score. And none of the other ones are even close. So if we open up the page, sure enough, Sean Gallagher, Lakewood, Ohio, and we got all his personal likes and dislikes and things in a matter of seconds. So that's the voter database demo. We can also do this with going the other way. Nope, not that one. Don't worry, this is a fake Facebook profile. It's Kittler. So if you guys want to follow him, you can. So this is just the Find My Friends link, or Find My Friends page in Facebook. So I'm going to go to the employer and I'm going to search for Perry Nuclear, which is the nuclear plant in Ohio, which nuclear plants have been phishing targets for hackers recently, so it's kind of a big deal. And as you see here, a lot of these people work for the peri-nuclear power plant. So let's import this into our application. Now, these are all the profiles we just saw. They just ripped them down into the application, and we could start operating on them. So I'm just going to pick one here. I don't know who any of these people are, so this is probably another giant fail. See if I find one I recognize. Let's just try the top one. I don't know who this is, but I have a couple examples of ones that I've already pulled down. Okay, yeah, so this lady, Carolyn, she's from Madison, Ohio. We can try the voter search, and it'll see if we get her home address back. And if not, we'll search the people database and see what we get back from there. I used Azure. I just put it all up in Azure, yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. The question was, what did I use to host my database? I just put it on Azure. It was cheap. All of this research, everything over the last 6 months, cost me about $30. So it's really not that bad. You can see here we got her home address back, and that's based on the information I pulled out of her Facebook profile. And now we can run that across people. And as you see, we get a response back from that, and we get a couple phone numbers, her name, past addresses. So, I mean, we have a ton of information on this lady now. So what I'm going to do, and now this is just a test people API key. If you actually purchase the key, you would get a ton more information. I just didn't want to pay for it because I'm cheap. And I think the proof of concept speaks for itself. So I'm going to select this information and add it to our dashboard. And now you see here she is. She's on the dashboard. And if I open up the target, it pulls up a little Google map of where she lives, and we got her phone numbers. We can add some notes here. Hello. And that'll persist between sessions. But we can also open up the SMS board here, and I built in a API, or I integrated with the text build API, so you can spoof text messages to her. And I'm also working on connect.data. I did the red team versus blue team training here, and they were saying they like to use the connect data to try and find emails and stuff. So I'm in the process of working that in as well, and that'll be great for companies, targeted phishing on companies. So that's pretty powerful. Definitely a little worrisome, but who cares, right? Well, I would think anybody that works at critical infrastructure like nuclear power plants or police departments, like when I was a cop, I mentioned earlier I was in the Army, I was an MP, I would not want people knowing where I live. It's just how it is. I would not want somebody I gave a ticket to, or somebody that I just caught for a DUI or caught cheating on their spouse. I wouldn't want them knowing where I live or my family. That's not a good thing. Also, young people that can be targeted predators. If you're 18, a lot of 18-year-olds like to vote. Guess what? Now I can find you. That's kind of a big deal. Like I said, we saw the nuclear power plants. They've been targets of hackers in the very recent news. And we were able to acquire a lot of information. What's stopping me from finding a janitor and then maybe trying to, target them, spearfish them? What would I do about it? I like to add this in because I'm not one to bitch and then not fix problems. I'm not going to stand up here and tell you there's something broken without offering a solution. You want to fix this, we need to, one, stop the states from publishing the entire voter record database. I understand why it's searchable. That's important for integrity. But I shouldn't be able to download 6.5 million records. That's a problem. Also, if I could speak directly to Facebook, I would say, why do you let people make things public by default? It should only be visible to your friends by default, and then they should have to opt into making it public. I shouldn't be able to scrape people's information without knowing them. I don't know, that's silly. So the summary is you can't opt out of the internet. If you vote, get tickets, own property, register your dog, anything like that, you're going to be on the internet, and I can find your data. Anybody can. It's not a magic trick. And the laws need to catch up. I actually spoke with the state of Ohio, and I asked their IT department why this stuff was public, and they kind of shrugged at me, and they're like, because of the laws. They agree it's a problem, but there's nothing they can do. And that was the official response that I got from them. So that's it. there's my contact information. There's the repo if you want to pull it down. I encourage everybody to pull it down. And if you need help setting up your voter database, please let me know. I'm happy to help. That's the only thing you should have to really configure. There's my Twitter. That's the easiest way to get a hold of me. And then also my blog. I'm always posting about hackery and stuff on there. So please feel free to reach out. And I think we have about 3 minutes for questions. So if anybody has any questions, please feel free. Yes?
A lot of that information about teachers is there any action?
I'm sorry, repeat that one more time. What about teachers? I'm sorry, I'm still having trouble. So you're saying that there's salary information online?
Well, like teachers, they publish a database, like for every state, they publish a database.
Oh, okay.
Information on teachers. Is there anything that like some of that position takes?
We're all screwed. There's no hiding this. So the question was, how do you hide information that's being published on educators, like salary information? The whole point of this is that we're all screwed. There's nothing we can do unless we change the laws. The government is publishing this data, and there's no opting out. Like I bought a house. Now everybody can see how much I paid for it. Everyone can see my tax information. Everybody can see exactly where I live, and in some instances my phone number. And if I have a DUI or that stuff automatically gets pushed to the web, and you have no say in it, and you're never notified. So as far as salary information, it's going to be the same thing, I would imagine. Anybody else? Yes.
I missed it, but when you were mentioning querying that Facebook URL, were you able to validate that you're able to pull back results from people who try to set their privacy parameters to just their friends?
Anything that got pulled back was public. It was set to public data. Yeah. So I intentionally created an account that was just a fake account because I didn't want to make friends with anybody. I wanted this to be as anonymous as possible. So all those people have no idea who I am, and it's a fake account. And fun thing is, though, if you create a fake account, you'll get all types of friends requests. So try it. It's a good time. All right, one more question. Yes?
Try using public military records?
I have not done military records yet. I did not know about that, but that sounds like a good time. We should link up and talk about that. All right. If you have any more questions, I'll be out in the hall shortly, and I can answer them there. Thank you very much for coming. All right.